Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for being here. Um, so we have been dealing uh, with crisis after crisis in terms of what's happening around the world, and it has caused some of us, well, let me speak for myself, some distress and some concerns over the um, the way our consciousness, like let's say pre-COVID or pre all these crises, where my consciousness was and the kind of alignment that I used to have, I am having a lot of difficulty to maintain that on an ongoing basis. There were moments prior to all of this where I would actually spend a period of like almost a week in complete bliss, where I felt connected to spirit, like I was walking on clouds. Everything was aligning, everything was perfect. It was pianissimo. I'm having a lot of problems because the experience is very jarring, where um um uh crises happening around the world, all kinds of things that are causing disruption. And these disruptions come with very strong emotion and fear and panic, causing all kinds of worries to show up, whether it is the loss of friends or family members or acquaintances, or it is loss of opportunities, loss of mobilities, or virus. I just saw today that the monkeypox virus just got elevated to globally as a virus of concern. It looks like it's going to at the same level as polio or in the United States, or as coronavirus. Uh, there, there, are, there are other things. Uh, I'm gonna have to edit this out. I just realized I can't mention this on this video. Okay, let's take this back. So I wanted to make sure that we understand that given everything else that's happening in the world, we should figure out a way to align our consciousness in a better way to the change and the transformation that, because these are in some ways are opportunities. They are like a trial by fire. It's like a purification of a metal, where you have to heat it up to very strong temperature so that the impurities will begin to fall out, and it need to be tempered and beat up so that the purest essence of that metal can come to the surface. So I feel certainly that there's some of that going on, and I am opening myself up. And there are other concerns as well. I was mentioning privately with some of you earlier that there is, particularly those of us who are in the New York City area, that there is a concern in New York right now, because New York City just last a week and a half ago sent a PSA out, a public service announcement, about warning about how to survive a nuclear disaster. And of course, I spoke with some of my students that are in Japan. When giving the language of the PSA, a lot of the people who experience what their parents will experience, actual nuclear explosion in Japan, in Nagasaki, they're telling me that the survival, if you're in the middle of a city where this is happening, or minimal. Anyway, again, this is another concern. Aside from the global warming, the latest warning is that there was a meeting with all of these countries last year, 2021, where there was a consensus in terms of emission, so that the temperature will not go any higher than 1.5 degrees centigrade. It already passed that threshold. And the consensus was not achieved because country like India, who burns a lot of coal, did not want to agree. There was another country as well, I can't remember exactly who. Um, um, and all of these things create, it's not a conscious frontal lobe kind of like disruption of your peace, but it's background noise. But the background noise becomes so strong that it becomes almost like a pull or a deposit on your adrenal gland or your kidneys. It's a discomfort in your dantian, and it becomes, and if you go deep into it, it becomes after a while, and if you query it, it becomes an understanding that your fear of survival, your fear of being safe is present and is in there. So it's to try to find a way to navigate this and to achieve this kind of like peace and serenity while still dealing with all of this. Of course, given all the fact that we're still living in a 3D world, this stuff is not just energetic. There's a war that's being waged right now, and we are in the middle of it. And if it becomes a world war, then the nuclear thing becomes very real. So we need to be practical and think about what we need to do, particularly for those of us who are living in big city like New York City. We need to be practical about what it is that we need to do in order to prepare and get ourselves ready for the eventuality if this were to happen physically. In other words, if it's a nuclear thing, what's the fire drill that you need to do in your head in terms of making sure that you are okay? What's the fire drill thing that you need to do in terms of making sure, at least for the next, the 3 days and thereafter, if you do survive it, that what's going to happen to you? Anyways, so that's the practical. But on the other hand, we don't want this to happen, and we have to change and do the energetic stuff to make sure we radiate light and love to the world and peace, and make people, and particularly world leaders, understand that this is not an option. Destroying the world is not an option. And thus we have to do multiple things at the same time. And interestingly enough, for me, aside from these concerns about big planetary things that are happening around, that are creating strong emotion and strong reactions in me, there are other things that are also causing me to be out of alignment, or my connection to people. Okay? My connection to my students, to my friends, to my family, and my concern for them and my worry for them to make sure that they are safe. Okay? And I'm realizing that this is a big deal for me, and it's an Achilles heel for me, because I am a very giving person and a very loving person, and I'm very loyal and very attached. I attach profoundly, and I'm very loyal. But I remember also today I was in meditation, and I remember something. I used to be a lifeguard when I was in college, and I remember one of the things they were teaching us, particularly when you go to rescue a victim. If the person is actively drowning and making all of this chaos and all these noise, meaning that they are extremely panicked and agitated, you cannot go to them and hand them your hand and say, or try. There's a way that you go behind them and you grab them by the chin by putting your hand around them, and you tow them in, and you hold them this way, and you start swimming to get to the shore. You cannot do this with them, because they'll be all over you, and you're both going to drown. And I'm beginning to think that there are some people that are in my life right now that I need to let go of them, or hand them a buoy, a flotation device. Just give them a flotation device with a rope connected to you, and make sure they don't touch you. Because if they touch you, they get on top of you, you're going to go down with them. So that's the kind of conversation around human consciousness, because I'm realizing what's robbing my peace is not only these things that are concerned that many of us on the planet are dealing with right now. Food shortages on the inflation is on the right. Food shortages is right behind, and it's caused by the war, because Ukraine is the number 5 producers of grain in the world, and because of the disruption, the food supply chain is disrupted completely, and thus there's all these problems that the world is facing, and that we we should be aware of this, and we should mention that the kind of surrender and alignment that I can get into, I can still get there, but I don't remain there for the length of time that I used to in the past. I'm having more difficulty remaining in it for a long period because my mind or my consciousness, these other things, are becoming loud like noise, and they're beginning to, penetrate my consciousness. And what about this and that? What about this and that? What's going to happen? And as it penetrates and it goes through my consciousness, it disrupts me, and I'm not in my peace anymore. And so, from us healers to demonstrate to the world the path of the new earth, we have to be completely embodied, and we have to demonstrate completely, and by living it, to example, what the new earth looks like to us. And for that to happen, we have to exist in it in certainty. And if you're worried about that or the other, the Maya and the illusions of the world are so loud that they are distracting you and from achieving that inner certainty. Now, it's being done by design. You understand this? It's not an accident. It's being done by design. And that design is such so that we, the light workers who are supposed to create the gate and become the doorway through which the rest of the world can find ascendance, we have to we have to exist in a certain level of awareness. I'm going to try to find and read for you. Give me a second. A channeling from Lord Melchizedek from 2010, and it was I think he it's Group Ascension Wave. It's 2011. And I'm gonna read it for you. Give me a minute. I'm loading it up, and I'll share it with you. Lord Melchizedek, channel of field of war. Greeting, dear one, essence of the divine. It is indeed with joy and happiness that I take this opportunity to welcome and support you in this ascension effort. You are responding to the call of spirit. You are fulfilling promises that you made long ago. It is in a group ascension effort that the salvation of the earth is assured. One individual ascending will not be able to transform this planet into the next dimension, but where 12 stand, a decisive difference can be made. You are called to create a gateway, doorway, or bridge, allowing others to follow. To understand that you are architects and engineers fabricating a vertical tunnel toward the heaven. You are to become the armature and structure that will hold this piece of architecture toward the heaven. In collectively refining your consciousness and reprogramming your negative ego, you are creating a doorway, opening, or gate through which others will follow. The entire heavenly hierarchy is supporting this effort. For this gateway is to connect to a similar structure that the ascended planetary level, which then connect to a part of the system at a solar level. This in turn connect to a similar structure at a galactic level, and so on, all the way back to source. You are creating a means by which all life form in your geographical area will find a sizable pathway where light can ascend and descend to heaven and bless everyone in your earth chakra location. We are here to support you. We are here to guide you. And I and the entire hierarchy want to make sure that this work happen in the simplest and easiest manner with love and peace. We say unto you, sparks of the divine, we are proud to watch our own essence, aspects of ourselves, generating emotion back to the beginning. This is as it should, and very encouraging to us. The vortex and extension column that you are creating will be so big that it will be a means by which lots of others will connect heaven to earth. You're not ascending for yourself. You are ascending so that the planet will move into light, love, and peace of the divine. This work cannot be done by one individual. It is to be done by a team that will assemble at every earth chakra location. They need to stand a minimum of 12 of the at these locations to become the main beam, armature, and structure that will create this network and open the gates of heaven. In conclusion, we bless you and say unto you, this is nothing more than the first wave. There will be additional wave coming through the chariot and pathway that you will leave behind. I am Lord Melchizedek, the soul that animates this universe, blessing my children, and may the love of the divine be always with you. And thank you for this opportunity to share. This was 2011. And I wanted to reread this because I want you to understand what Lord Melchizedek was seeing us as light workers as. We are the gateway, we are creating a doorway, and we are not just the gateway and the doorway, but we are the beam and the structure of this heavenly column or tunnel or opening that will go toward the heaven. And there are moments where I'm very aligned and I can see it as a beam of light. When I connect to spirit and I get myself in proper alignment, I can feel myself extremely tall, and I can feel light, illumination. All around me is illumination. I wish I remained longer in that space, although, as I said, prior to many of these crises, it was easier for me. But the kind of certainty we need to get to in that chaos, in the turbulence that we're moving through, that turbulence becomes the teacher. Okay, and so as these things are going around and all the crazy warning sign, and I'm saying this because as a seer and someone who sees the future, this is not always a pleasant thing, because a lot of time when you see the future, you are changed by it. What you see, you cannot unsee. Sometimes ignorance is better, because if you didn't see it, you could pretend it's not there, and you could, align yourself, even if it was delusional, to something else, and you could maintain yourself in a kind of like ostrich or delusional state of where you wouldn't worry about what's to come. But when you are seeing the future and you can see the potentiality that's in the horizon and what may show up, it changes you. Because when you see it, you cannot unsee it. And sometimes I channel these things and I see them and I'm like, okay, let's just drop the channeling and forget about it and move on with my life. But eventually, when some of these things begin to pass, then you begin to realize, oh my God, this is what the channeling was saying. This is what I saw. This is the vision. Okay? And thus, Uh, and the most important part of seeing and perceiving is that when you're perceiving a future, let's say it's not a pleasant future, and this is the part that I don't like about seeing the future, is that a lot of time it's not pleasant stuff. And when you're seeing, particularly now with all the tests and the opportunities that the planet is being presented with, there's a lot of things that are showing up that are not pleasant. And because they are not pleasant, I tend to, there's a tremendous burden on the part of the seer to figuring out a way to share this with the world. Again, the prophet that's talking in the desert that no one listens to, maybe no one will listen to you. They will think that you're cuckoo, you've lost your mind, or they will think that you're fear-mongering. When in 2015, I was talking about a perception of a pathogen that may cause all kind of global death, and no one was listening to me. No one wanted to hear this. They thought I was fear-mongering. When I talked about potential war and battle or country breaking apart because of this bifurcation, this internal, no one wanted to hear this. I have all the channelings, but no one wanted to hear this. No, everybody was like, because everything was okay, going like an order, no one wants to hear the bad news. And so the thing that I'm struggled with is that when I have this perception, I have to still figure out a way to still be aligned. And it takes me sometimes weeks to find the courage to share the message with the world. Because again, my human part is like, people are going to judge you, throw rocks at you, cancel you, and think that you've really lost it this time. And so those are the things that I am, that gets me concerned, because when you are in deep meditation and these flashes, these moments, these visions, this moment, or these inner knowing just drop on you, and you begin to know these things, you cannot not look at them anymore. The moment it's there, it shows up and it's present, you got to acknowledge it. And there is the responsibility, what do you do with the information? Do you hold it for yourself and share it with no one? Or do you tell some people, a few people? How do you share this? How do you give people insights? And so it's important to have that kind of understanding and that kind of like, refinement in knowing when to speak and when not to speak. And more importantly, not all truth needs to be shared. And that's the part that a seer must evolve over time by making mistakes, because there are certain things when you say it. We have an old proverb back in the Caribbean that says, he who says, here's the snake, kills the snake. So you who are the one that's saying that this is what's coming, you're going to be blamed for it. So you have to be very aware of this, and more importantly, sometimes the person you're trying to warn, they're not ready to hear what you're saying, because you bringing that information with them will fragment them, will break them apart. I remember years ago, there was an experience I had with a student of mine who didn't ask the psychic or this intuitive, was in a social gathering thing, and the psychic and intuitive told her, you were molested by your father when you were so and so age, blah, 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 and so on and so forth. And I remember her coming back to me broken in pieces. She has no memory of this. Everything was black. But it's not that the information was incorrect. The information was correct. But the person, there's a reason why your consciousness and your higher self block these things. If they are being blocked, it's because you're not prepared to process it. You're not ready. And there are multiple things that somebody does, not only in terms of physical body language, but energetically, you should be asking the higher self of the person or the group of the collective, are they ready to hear this? Is this something that's useful for them to hear? And if the answer is that they are not ready, you hold your peace until you get the permission energetically that they are ready to hear this. Because saying it too soon will fracture someone, and you will have to incur karma in that sense. And this woman struggled with that information for years before she finally remembered what actually happened. And the psychic did not help her in that instance. The psychic actually fractured her. And there's coming death for this, because the motivation of a lot of these intuitive and psychic is to demonstrate to everyone through their ego how good they are and how gifted they are. Look what I can do. It's not coming from care. It's coming from ego and showing powers. Because if you really care for the person, you would have known that they are not prepared to hear this. And no matter what it is that you're seeing or you're perceiving, you need to hold your peace. Because till the person's higher self, because who's telling you, giving you permission? The person or the collective higher self. And if they're not ready to hear it, you can't bring that information up. No matter how much you know the veracity and the truth of where you are and what you're saying, you cannot bring it up. So knowing the future is a huge responsibility. It's an immense responsibility. Because once you see it, you cannot shake it out, you cannot unsee it. And the second point is that you have to find a way to share it. If there is permission, or you need to hold your peace and swallow the information. So knowing this is another part of things that is part of the mix for me. When you're perceiving these things and you sense what's going to happen, you begin to worry. I remember I was part of a group, this is at the Arlington Institute in 2000 and mid-2000, I'll say mid-June of 2020. And I remember we were being on Zoom online, and we were talking about the future. And I remember saying, yeah, there's going to be food shortages. And this was like, the knowing just came. And sure enough, we're at this juncture now where, again, high prices and all that, and we know this is where we're headed. And given the what's happening with drought and fires and all, we know where we're going. We know exactly where we're going. So we have to figure out a way to kind of navigate what that is for us and how we can still remain. Because when I connect and I find that peace and I go into that state of surrender, it is tremendous. And it is so powerful for me that it's transformational for my consciousness. Because literally what I feel is illumination. It's a column of light. It's illumination. Like I have a gigantic spotlight above me, like those Hollywood spotlight, just pure illumination. And the challenge is to make sure I remain in that state for as long as I can. Because these other things begin to gnaw at your edges, and before you know it, it's just like, you go into a different emotion, your emotional body takes over, and you begin to derail, you're off the track, and until you can catch yourself and bring yourself back again. So the importance of your spiritual practice becomes the key. And if in the morning when you wake up, you do the same routine, whether it's a deep breathing exercise, I can share with you what I do as a way maybe to guide you into having a very specific spiritual practice and guidance to help you keep your consciousness in alignment. When I get up in the morning, after I have my cup of coffee, I actually do the morphogenic listening exercise, which is to let my head drop in the middle of my chest and let my mind and my heart go into coherence. And once I am in that alignment, it changes the atmosphere around me, because I'm not just from using frontal lobe, calculating, measuring, fearing, battling, but I am now allowing myself to perceive through my heart, which is all inclusive. It's a different perception. The Carlos Castaneda and Don Juan called this the second attention. And when I am in that state, I know more, I feel more, I sense more. And that's the first thing I do. That's no more than 10 minutes, no more. Then I do the torsion field. And once I do the torsion field, I allow the light of the Guardian Alliance of Light, which exists. If I'm in 3D, they exist in 4D, 5D, 6D, etc., all the way back to God, 12 level, 12 dimensions. And I let them share with me the neutrality that they know by creating through my central axis a nested, that they project their antacorona onto me, and they nest in 4D all around me a torsion field of neutrality. They do the same thing in 5D, in 6D, all the way back to God. Now, once that is done, and typically when I'm done by the 1 and 12D, that's when I feel illumination. That's the only way I can describe it. It's just illumination. And the moment I am in that state, I know I am there. And at that moment, I can begin to pray for someone else. I can send prayer intention. I can say prayer for myself. I can talk to God, or I can listen. And again, all spiritual practice must include two things. Prayer is talking to God. Meditation is listening to God. And your spiritual practice must have both. Right now, given all the crises that are going in the world and all the very loud things that are happening, we need to pray a lot more. We need, because my practice was very meditation centered, it has to now also become prayer focused, so that I can pray more and ask for protection, for guidance, and for safe passage, so that I don't waste my time in things that are not important, that are superfluous, that are incidental to my well-being. And the moment I am in that state of awareness, and I begin to see this and understand this through my prayer, I can then begin to listen to God for the answers. Okay? And everything else that you want to add, but at least these things, if you do them, and the things I've been adding, particularly with, I've been teaching my advanced student, is to add at the very end of this. We did this meditation this morning in my early class for the advanced students, which is to repeat these two sentences. Prana, rise, give me conscious immortality. Prana is light. Prana is, you can call it chi, you can call it universal life force, you can call it nous, you can call it whatever it is you want. But it is the basic building block that created everything in the universe, including our own physical, mental, spiritual, and celestial bodies. What you're asking and what you're decreeing by saying this over and over again is for the prana in you to rise. Now, I have to explain this to you because I didn't have an opportunity to say this morning in the class, but the prana will increase in you and come and connect to you through your chakras. Now, to the degree that the chakra is balanced or out of balance, it's to the degree that the prana will be able to enter correctly. You know, the crown, the third eye, the throat, the heart, the solar plexus, the sexual chakra, and then the grounding chakra, the seventh chakra. So you to the degree that you have done enough emotional maturing exercise and connection, and you have achieved a certain level of emotional intelligence and social intelligence, it's to the degree that these chakras will be open or closed. Now, given the fact that we're going through these accelerants, which are these gigantic things, global warming, potential nuclear war, and all of these worries are gigantic accelerants. How you react to these things or to these perceived fears will determine whether that chakra is open or closed or is balanced the right way. And I'm saying this to you because I want you to understand something. If you keep focusing on the fear and the negativity, you're never going to be aligned to light. What Lord Melchizedek, that channeling I just read, you will not be part of this collective. Because there is enough bad news between now and the end of the year to cause anyone that's listening to it, that's paying attention to every little bit in the news, to scare the daylight out of you. You're going to be really scared. Because the stuff of nightmares is going to be something that we're going to be living through. I mean, look at the mass shootings that are going across the US. As of 3 weeks ago, over 300 mass shootings just in half of the year. This is second week in July. I channeled it in 2015, lawlessness. And again, I'm saying this because I want you to understand that it's not, and this is the reason why you're praying too. Because you're praying now and this is why you're doing the torsion field on a daily basis. Because as long as you're in neutrality in the torsion field, you will not be involved in any of these incidents. Because the torsion field will keep you safe. I don't drive my car without doing the torsion field, even if I have to go 5 minutes, 10 minutes away. I don't do anything if I'm in the train. Before I go to the train, I do the torsion field. Once it's done, it takes not even, it's 12 breaths for me to do it. And once it's done, I am okay. I know I am safe because you don't know what you're going to walk into. When I have that illumination, I know I'm safe. I'm going to be okay. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He make me lay down green pastures, and so on and so forth. And you know the Psalm 23. So the idea is to find a way to remain into the safety net of that psalm, of the torsion field where neutrality exists. Though I walk through the valley of shadow and death, I fear no evil, for thou art with me. So it's to be in the space where you're embodying this. And it's not going to come by itself just because you wake up, it's going to follow you automatically. You have to have a routine, a daily practice that you're doing to maintain your consciousness in that space, because there are tons of things out there that are going to try to trigger you to go into completely locked into the fear. And if you're locked into the fear, you're going to find yourself entangled in a situation where you experience the fear. This is why prayer is very important right now. Any questions, any comments? Now, when I'm repeating the prana rise, give me conscious immortality. What we're asking is for an increase through the 7 chakras of this luminosity that the entire multiverse is created on. You're asking for the 150 trillion cells in your body to be so aligned and so completely connected to it that uncertainty in your entire consciousness and being, you know that all of the chaos that are happening in the world is an illusion, and that in fact you have immunity. You have immunity against all of it. But I am not talking about words that you're repeating. I'm talking about a state of consciousness and certainty that will exist through and through to your entire being. And for you to get into that space requires daily practice, daily practice, daily practice, daily practice. And at some point, it will drop in you and you will permanently inhabit it. And this is how we become the armature and the structure to erect this piece of architecture, as in the channeling I just read you, into the heaven. In ashrams that I've been in India, the teachers a lot of times spend 10, 20 years in the forest or under a tree. There's a Buddha boy who spent something like from the time he was 8 until he was 10 years until he was 18 under a Buddha tree. And then when people pilgrim begin immobile, he had dirt all over it, snakes and all kinds of animals, completely, he's not moving. No water, no nothing. And in fact, his mother was crying and being very upset, saying, I cannot leave my son here sitting under this tree. I want to give him food. I want to give him some water. But he was going through a deep spiritual transformation. And after 10 years of this, he became a saint because he entered into that certainty where he is now connected to that luminosity on a permanent basis. Now, we can achieve the same thing. We don't have, it's not going to take us 10 years to do, because we have so many catastrophic things that are happening around us if we simply do a little bit of work on a daily basis by applying ourselves. If we simply pay attention to have a daily spiritual practice and allowing ourselves to now be aware that, oh my God, by me doing this on a daily basis, over a week of me doing this, over 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 49 days, I am no longer the same person. A year, I'm not the same person anymore. Yes, there's chaos, all of this stuff is in the world, and I'm still exist in the world, and I have to somehow connect to it and take certain kind of precaution and et cetera, so on and so forth. But it is not scaring me, and it is not occupying too much real estate in my head. It's a passing thing because I'm already someone else. And at the moment, I can feel myself shifting. And it's so clear at the moment when I'm in this illumination that I'm like, none of these things will touch me because I'm somewhere else. I got shifted. It's not a something that's easy to describe, yet it is actually as easy as blinking your eyelid. Because the moment you're there, you know, and through your whole being, you know, all of this thing is an illusion. And I have safe passage. I'm going to be okay. Any questions, any comments? Now, I know that many of you will have experiences that are going to be terrifying. Some of you are dealing around the world with wildfires, droughts, or flooding events where you have to rush, you have to run to escape, you have to do all of these physical things. And it's very hard for you to have to do all of these things and think that these things are still illusion. In 3D, they are very real. But the 3D metrics, and I'm calling them metrics deliberately, is a hologram that is created in emptiness. What animates the entire creation, it's either it's the luminosity, the prana, and if the prana get corrupted by fear, it shows up as fear event and as darkness. But if the prana, if your chakras are aligned and you are at peace and a serenity in your core, the prana shows up in you as an experience of blessings, of abundance, of flow, of miraculous change and transformation. One of the things that I have added as recently as 2 days ago to my spiritual practice is that I've been listening and doing this daily, an hour-long mantra to Lord Ganesh, the Indian god that removes obstacle. And I found this to be extremely useful for me. And giving all of the chaos, when I'm talking about obstacle, I'm talking about all the chaos that's happening in the world that are distracting me emotionally and all around me and causing all kinds of disturbance, destruction of my peace. Now, I don't know if you have the time or not. This is something that's on YouTube that you can get, and you certainly can listen to it as a way to help you remove the obstacles and allow your consciousness to go easy into the acceptance of the luminosity, and so that these loud events don't occupy, don't consume your soul and your emotional body. And also, you have to feed your consciousness less fear. Stop watching certain kind of program that are all about fear. Stop watching the news. Stop watching all the things that are feeding you a diet of agitation and fear. Focus your consciousness on the light. Focus your consciousness on the luminosity. Focus your consciousness on the positivity. And let the positivity bring you into light, into alignment. Now, it is my hope that when we stop in 10, 15 minutes to do to take a break and go in meditation, that I will be able to guide you through the practice that I actually do, and that this practice will become like a model for you. You can add to it, you can subtract to it, but I want to give you some sort of guidance to kind of like help you figure out a way how to manage and navigate the shift. Okay? But before we get into this, I want you to understand that there are certain kind of conversation, particularly with so-called friends and people who seem to be struggling with two certain things. I do offer my input. I met somebody, I had seen her around, and she's friended me on Facebook, and I saw this woman, and she I don't have a very high opinion of her. Not because I think she's a bad person, but I have seen her, she lives in my neighborhood, I've seen her on the waterfront, and she's an older lady of a certain age, and she dressed like she's 15 or 16, looking for sexual satisfaction. She has a beautiful body, she's a beautiful woman. And I know that because she friended me on Facebook, etc., that she's a healer. And somebody introduced me that I know on the waterfront, introduced me to her, and we started talking. And then she started listening to me, and then she wanted to get into a fight with me about something really dumb and stupid. And I was like, you can believe in whatever you want to believe. I'm not biting. I know right now you're trying to prove yourself to me by showing intelligence, by coming at me with such powerful and strong with an attack, but I'm not biting. And I said to her, okay, whatever it is that you want to believe in, you can believe it. Because I wasn't sure exactly what she was doing. I think some of it also was a seduction technique, because I think she's uber sexual. Maybe I'm projecting, but my intuitive sense is that she's part of these hedonistic healers who are constantly trying to find some sort of outlet for sexual satisfaction. I'm not sure if this is what she was trying to engage me in, this kind of like, it was a seduction technique. Whatever it wasn't working, okay? It wasn't working, because to my mind, as I see it, I'm like, I bless where you are, but I'm not fighting with you. I just had a long meditation. I am now, the illumination is with me. I'm in my peace now. And she did acknowledge when she saw me, to this other friend, Janet, that Pierre is in peace. He seems to be so at peace. And what are you doing the moment you see me at peace and illumined? You're trying to dim my light. You're trying to attack me because of something I just mentioned. No. And she went on and on and on about, no, and turning around and getting agitated. I'm like, look, I'll see you later. I just walked away. You're nobody to me. I don't care. I don't need to convince you of anything. One thing I want you to understand, the reason I'm mentioning this, what we need to do for ourselves right now is to work on ourselves. Like Thich Nhat Hanh said, the way out is within. We need to work on ourselves and stop wasting our energy in trying to save everyone. Don't waste your time. Because somehow the light of God is capable of finding all these people and let them in their own timing find the light. Because you're wasting your energy. This is the same thing I was saying before about people that I have in my life that I care for. I realize a few people, I have to drop them. I have to, like a lifeguard, I have to give them a buoy and say, here, make it to shore on your own. Because I can't get involved in the drama anymore. So be aware of this and understand that if somebody is pushing your button and trying to agitate you, because she was trying to find a way to tangle, to kind of like rope me into some sort of exchange with her to whatever it is that she was doing, it was not working for me. I saw right through it. She was wearing this little tiny little, you know, how when you're in a Catholic school, you have this pleated skirt, but it was so short, you know, below her belly button, a chain in the belly button, a little crop top. You know, it was hot. I granted you that, and everybody was like, I was wearing shorts as well, but she was dressed very provocatively. And whatever it is, and it is not the first time I've seen her in the neighborhood, she's always dressed provocatively. And when she's walking down the street, you can tell when somebody is hunting. Okay, it's like, what's the best way to put it? It's like the lion that's going down in the savannah looking for gazelles. And in this instance, she's a lioness. And so what I can say is that I'm very aware of this, and I can realize that I'm not really interested in whatever is going on, and I can walk away. I'm at peace with myself. I know who I am. I don't need to prove myself to you, nor do I need to rescue you or do anything to somehow feel superior by trying to convince you that I know the truth. Because truth is relative. Truth exists in an infinite spectrum of knowing. And whatever I think is the truth for me now will change momentarily, will grow, will expand. Because if God is infinity, but God's truth is also as infinite. And therefore, I must be pliable, teachable, and malleable enough to allow whatever I hold not to be a static point, so that I can let that slide and open me up into something else. So I am not attached to the opinion I have right now. I can, if a higher truth comes to me tomorrow or a few hours from now, I can always go back and say, well, I just received something else, and I think it expands into this. So I don't need to have, because there's a lot of people who are going out there in righteous self-indignation who think that they're awake and they know everything and they're trying to push their knowing into people. I felt not too strong because we didn't speak for too long, but I felt a little bit of that. I felt a little bit of that. And I don't have to reciprocate to you. Now we've been introduced in the neighborhood, I'll say hello, whatever, and I'll just move on. I don't need to, it's not important to me. Any questions, any comments? All right, let us take a 5-minute break and then we'll do the closing meditation. It will be a demonstration of the spiritual practice that I was just talking about. Okay? 5 minutes. Take a very deep and slow breath. And as you inhale and exhale deeply and slowly, allow the universal life force that permeates everything to enter into your lungs. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And let your soul and your awareness drop in the middle of your chest. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Let your heart and your mind sync with each other. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And notice what you notice. Allow the heart and mind coherence to let you understand, feel, and know the world around you. – 360 degrees. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And notice what you notice. Become aware of any
perceptions, feelings, sensations
that may show up for you. Now listen. Listen
as if the more than 50 trillion cells in your body had ears. Sink deep into any discomfort and breathe simply deeply to try to understand the false beliefs and the root causes of the agitations that are animating them. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And let go. It is not your responsibility to fix, repair, or do anything. As these root causes demonstrate weakness in your spiritual psychology, bring that entire erroneous and vulnerable part of you that is in need of transformation and transmutation into source. Elevate it and surrender it into your higher power, into God. And let go. It is not your responsibility to fix, repair, change, or do anything. Simply acknowledge the fact that this is bigger than you. You're overwhelmed by it. And surrender it into your higher power and ask humbly for help. And the guardian alliance of light approach you, offering to gift you their shields of light and protection and a band of neutrality. If you are ready to accept this gift at the sign, answer affirmatively. And let the energy of the first guardian begin at the core of the earth, counter-rotating, passing through the bottom of your feet, moving through your body, and dislodging all fears, and release all of it into source. And let it create all around you a torsion field of neutrality. The axis at the top of your head extends, and it attracts now the energy of the second guardian, rotating clockwise, coming from source, passing through your entire body, dislodging all fears, all resistance. And let it now drop into the core of the earth and create all around you a torsion field of neutrality. The axis at the bottom of your feet extends, and it attracts now the energy of the third guardian, coming in from the core of the earth, rotating counterclockwise, moving through the bottom of your feet, passing through your central axis and dislodging all fears, exiting outside of your head and going into source and creating all around you a torsion field of neutrality. The axis at the top of your head extends, and it attracts now the energy of the fourth guardian, cascading down, while rotating clockwise, dropping to the top of your head and passing through you, exiting at the bottom of your feet into the core of the earth, and creating all around you
a total field of neutrality.
The axis at the bottom of your feet extends and it attracts now the energy of the fifth guardian, coming in from the core of the earth, rising through the bottom of your feet, passing through you, exiting outside of your head, and let it be released into source while creating all around you
a total field of neutrality.
The axis at the top of your head extends and it attracts now the energy of the sixth guardian, cascading down while rotating clockwise, passing through your core and central axis, dropping into the core of the earth, and creating all around you
A total field of neutrality.
The axis at the bottom of your feet extends and it attracts now the energy of the seventh guardian, coming in from the core of the earth, passing through the bottom of your feet, moving through your body, exiting outside of your head and going into source, and creating all around you
A total field of neutrality.
The axis at the top of your head extends and it attracts now the energy of the eighth guardian, cascading down from source while rotating clockwise, passing through the top of your head, moving through your central axis, exiting at the bottom of your feet into the core of the earth, and creating all around you
A total field of neutrality.
The axis at the bottom of your feet extends and it attracts down the energy of the night guardian. Coming in from the core of the earth, counter rotating, passing through the bottom of your feet, moving upward through your core and central axis, exiting outside of your head, and being released into source, while creating all around you a total field of neutrality. The axis at the top of your head extends and it attracts now the energy of the 10th guardian, coming in from source, clockwise, dropping into the top of your head, passing through your body, exiting at the bottom of your feet, and creating all around you a total field of neutrality. The axis at the bottom of your feet extends and it attracts now the energy of the 11th guardian, coming in from the core of the earth, moving through the bottom of your feet, counter rotating, passing through you, exiting outside of your head, and creating all around you a total field of neutrality. The axis at the top of your head extends and it attracts down the energy of the 12th and final guardian, cascading down from source, clockwise, dropping into the top of your head, passing through your central axis, and being released into the core of the earth and creating all around you a total field of neutrality. Observe the 12 counter rotating axes that are spinning in your core, bringing your entire antakarana into neutrality. Prana rise. Give me conscious immortality. Prana rise. Give me conscious immortality. Prana rise. Give me conscious immortality. Prana, rise. Give me conscious immortality. Prana, rise. Give me conscious immortality. Prana, rise. Give me conscious immortality. Fiat lux. Let there be light, illumination, freedom, liberation, ascension. May the peace, the serenity, and the love that I know pass on to everyone in our circle of influence. Hosanna into the highest. Hosanna into the highest. Hosanna into the highest. Take a very deep and slow breath. And whenever you feel ready, you can open your eyes.
Thank you, Pierre.
You're welcome. You're welcome, Margie.
It was a very nice meditation.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah, I felt it too. I felt the illumination, the light.
Yes.
All right, everyone. I want to thank you for your attention and for being with me today. I want to thank all my Patreon subscribers for supporting us. And I want to also thank everyone on YouTube to please like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. Deep love to everyone. I'll talk to you next week. Thank you.
Thank you, Pierre. Have a good night.
Good night.